I've been telling myself for years that I don't have a single favorite Kurt Cobain guitar, but I have finally given in and realized that Skystang I is not only my favorite guitar Kurt played, but my favorite guitar of all time. I just had some mods done to my Kurt Cobain signature Mustang to make it as accurate as possible to a certain time period. I was originally just going to show my guitar and the mods in this video, but I thought it would be fun to do some research and to try to compile a definitive timeline of this guitar. Kurt has been quoted as saying that Mustangs are his favorite guitar. If you look at the numbers, Skystang I is his most played Mustang. So let's take a deep dive into Kurt Cobain's #1 guitar for Nirvana's biggest headlining tours. Kurt was told he had to place a minimum order of 10 guitars when he wanted to order some left-handed Mustangs from Fender. At the time, the Fender USA custom shop was just getting started and did not have the ability to make left-handed Mustang necks. So Kurt ordered 10 left-handed MG69 Mustangs, 5 red and 5 blue, from the Fender custom shop in Japan. They were built in the Fujigen factory by Scott Zimmerman. The first two were shipped together on June 28, 1993, and they were what would become Skystang I and Oranj-Stang. Oranj-Stang got played first a month later on July 22nd at the Roseland Ballroom in New York. At that show, it had its original red tortoiseshell pickguard and a newly added Seymour Duncan JB Jr. Kurt's guitar tech Ernie Bailey added the JB Jr. prior to this show. The next time we see it is 3 months later on October 18th in Phoenix, Arizona, on the first show of the In Utero tour. There, it is in its final form with a white pearl pickguard, 2 pneumatic bridge, and full-size Seymour Duncan JB. It is safe to guess that Kurt did not like the JB Jr. and red on red look since it was only played once like that. But there were so many iconic pictures taken at that show that that version of Oranj-Stang has taken on a life of its own and is known as the Roseland Mustang. Plus, you gotta admit that that sweatshirt and guitar combo looks really sweet. Skystang I was first played on October 18th in Phoenix, Arizona, and there it already has its white Seymour Duncan JB. In its original form, it probably looked like this, with a standard Mustang bridge and Mustang single coil pickup in the bridge position. There are 2 clues on its pickguard that tell us this. Upon close examination of the humbucker section, you can still see the 2 single coil screw holes and that the humbucker has a big square route that was cut for it. If the pickguard was made for a humbucker, it would have been a snug fit as seen here on my Kurt Cobain signature Mustang before I had it altered. Interestingly enough, the JB was originally body mounted instead of being mounted to the pickguard. This will change later on, and we will go into this in more detail when we get to that part of the guitar's timeline. It has a small post, Nashville-style Gotoh 2 pneumatic bridge that Ernie installed, and Kurt smeared the Seymour Duncan logo on the JB. He didn't like having big name company logos on display, which is also why he took down most of the Marshall logos on his cabs during the Nevermind tour. Skystang I has Schaller strap locks. The guitar did see some damage throughout the tour, as both strap locks were relocated, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Lastly, it also had its tailpiece flipped and locked down, which makes the tremolo completely unusable, but improves tuning stability and sustain according to Ernie Bailey. This is how Skystang I is for the entirety of the US In Utero tour from October 93 to early January 94. A very notable show from this stretch of time is Live and Loud, where Kurt plays Skystang I for every song but Blue and the Endless Nameless Stage Destruction. This is a legendary show, and usually the first show people think of when they think of this guitar. It's currently the best show to see high-def video footage of Skystang I in action. This is the form of Skystang I that I modded my Kurt Cobain signature Mustang to. November to December 93 is my favorite period for live Nirvana, so I wanted mine to be accurate to that. Here are all the mods that I had done to mine. I had my pickguard altered by Lomic Guitars to have the 2 single coil screw holes and a bigger route for the humbucker. I switched out the black JB for a white JB, switched out the single coil cover from cream to white, switched out the pickup switches from black to white, installed a small post Nashville-style Gotoh 2 pneumatic bridge, flipped and locked the tailpiece, installed Schaller strap locks, and lastly, I have GHS boomer strings on it. Gauge is 10 to 52. Ernie has said that this is the brand and gauge that Kurt used on the In Utero tour. To say that I love this guitar would be an understatement. But this is not Skystang I's final form. Kurt had changes done to it before the European leg of the In Utero tour, some by choice, and some appear to be by necessity. By choice, Kurt had the pickup switches cut down. He had trouble with accidentally hitting the switches when strumming, and this was the solution for that. These next changes come out of necessity. On February 22, 1994, we see Skystang I in the form we've discussed up until this point. Then we don't see it until February 24th, where we see that the JB is now pickguard mounted instead of body mounted. Here's a present day picture to show that better. But why did this change happen? I've had several in-depth conversations about this guitar's evolution with Jeff of Lomic Guitars, and he has a theory he presented to me. At the end of the show, on February 22nd, we see Skystang I take a hard hit when Kurt throws it. The next day, they play on the Tunnel TV program where Kurt uses Skystang II, and then the following day, on February 24th, we see Skystang I now with the JB being pickguard mounted. So we can speculate that the big throw on February 22nd caused enough damage that John Duncan, Kurt's guitar tech on the European leg of the tour, had to make some repairs, one of these repairs being that the JB could no longer be body mounted. Which could explain why Skystang II was being used on the Tunnel. It was Skystang I's backup, and Skystang I was still being repaired at the time in preparation for the next day's show. Jeff also pointed out to me that the two JB screws aren't perfectly in line. The right one is up just a hair higher than the left, the right one being the original hole that was meant for a single coil, and the left being the one that we can assume John Duncan made. Since the right upper screw was never intended to be used for a humbucker, the JB is not perfectly horizontal. This seems to be a just fix it and get it working repair. There's a good chance that since the top screw was off-center, if the pickup was mounted straight it would no longer fit the route, and that would be way more work for a touring guitar tech. I sent my signature Mustang's pickguard to Jeff and had my single coil screw holes made exactly in the same spots where they are in the actual guitar. So if I were ever to want my JB to be pickguard mounted, it would be slightly off just like Kurt's. Jeff offered to do it this way or in a way where the top hole would be centered, but I opted for the accurate way to satisfy my obsessive, nerdy need for historical accuracy. Another thing that we can speculate is a result of the throw on February 22nd is this chewed up or shaved down looking damage on the top left of the humbucker. But in some pictures it looks like you can already see it shaved down on February 21st, so it might actually be unrelated to the damage? I can't think of another way to explain this one. There was no shortage of violence towards Skystang I, so there's lots of speculation here. But it's one of those things where once you notice it, you can't unsee it. At the time of recording this video, Skystang I is on display at the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle, in the amazing Nirvana exhibit that they have. I've been lucky enough to see this mighty guitar in person twice, in 2011 and 2019. The Kurt Cobain signature Mustang was released in 2012 and was only in production for a few years. Prices have skyrocketed in the last several years, and they now easily sell for up to 3 times more than what they were sold for brand new. They're amazing guitars, but there are some inaccuracies to the real deal. The following information is courtesy of Jeff of Lomic Guitars, who has modded a signature model and several different early 90s Sonic Blue MG69 Mustangs to Skystang I specs. One of the biggest inaccuracies is the color. Fujijin sprayed over their body colors with the tinted clear typically reserved for necks. Why? This is a common technique to make a guitar look vintage. So every guitar from that period until around 97 or 98 when they changed factories is more yellow than after. That means the actual Skystangs are greener than the signature model. Many people think that the 90s Mustangs have aged to that color, but that's not the case. It's that color even in the neck pocket except where the clear coat didn't hit. Then it's pure Sonic Blue. Also, a quick disclaimer. I've seen that some people think that Kurt's Mustang is white, but it is very much Sonic Blue. It just appears to be white in many pictures due to stage lighting. Fender used Skystang II as the basis for the signature model, even though it was Kurt's least played Stang on the tour. This could be because simply that was the guitar that the Cobain estate gave to Fender to take measurements and pictures of, so that's what Fender had to work with. It has a black JB like Skystang II, but for whatever reason, Fender put black pickup switches on it while both Skystang I and II have white switches. The bridge on the signature model is an ABR1 style Gotoh Tunomatic, like Skystang II has, while Skystang I has a small post Nashville style Gotoh Tunomatic. As discussed before, Kurt's pickguard had the humbucker route cut out, so the hole is bigger than the JB itself, while the signature model's route is a perfect and snug fit for the humbucker. That's the story of Skystang I. If you're in the Seattle area or visiting, be sure to stop by MoPop and say hello to this epic instrument before it gets sold off in a big flashy auction to a billionaire who will probably keep it locked away in a private collection. You've been hearing how my signature model sounds in the background of this video, but if you want to hear more of it, click here to watch my In Utero Tour tone video, which also features my jack stang that was heavily modded to Kurt's prototype specs. The sources I used in this video are Lomic Guitars, LiveNirvana.com, KurtzEquipment.com, OffsetGuitars.com. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and check out my other Nirvana gear videos.